Hello, everyone. It's Wednesday where we talk to Ricky. We have come to a time after 54 episodes where we don't have a guest. And yeah, that was a long run of guests. And so today we're just going to chill and talk to each other. And we're thinking about talking about the topic of bonding. Okay, so I guess we should define bonding. Like, what does it mean to bond?
Yeah, what do you got?
Well, it seems like if atoms are bonded, they bond together into molecules. Like bonding seems like it's like a stickiness where two things are cl coming closer together. They talk about like a baby bonding with its mother. I think humans bond probably through the heart chakra. I mean, probably all the chakras, but like where you feel a sense of closeness to somebody.
Closeness. I mean, yeah, I think that's a good descriptive word. But I like the example. Wow, you went right to molecules, atoms. Wow, that's to the core. But to the human core of the first bonding experience, I think is the baby to the mother. And my best guess is it, at least it's symbolized by the baby being able to grasp on to the nipple and get milk. You know, because from a practical standpoint, if the baby doesn't get milk, the baby does not survive. So the bond between mother and child is in this situation is based on survival through the connection or the closeness. And it's to me, it's so lunar. It's the moon. It's the literally the opening up and receiving something that comes out of someone else, this ability to give and receive nurturing. And
Hmm.
once you've bonded to someone, it's like the oxytocin, right? Is that there's a commitment now to nurture and to take care of and care about this person. And care, if you look it up in the dictionary, and right, you'll be tricked if you grew up at the time I did and you watch Care Bears. But if you look in a dictionary, the definition of the word care is worry, concern, anxiety. Right?
Mm.
So, and I think that's the underlying purpose of why we bond to help us better manage worry, care, and anxiety, to share the worry, care, and anxiety of life.
Ah, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I like what you said about survival. Like when I think of bonding, I do think, okay, so one of the reasons I've been thinking about this in my current moment is I work with so many people, musically, esoterically, and in conversations, but I don't necessarily feel like I bond with all of them. And it's like, what is that? And I think there is something about mutual survival that makes the bond stronger. Like my friend Billy, like I like to pay him for things because, well, he's a producer and I pay him, but like he also kind of needs me because sometimes his schedule waxes and wanes and it's like I'm the guy that is I'm like I got you. What do you want to do? You want to go on the air? Like I'm like his like catch person and I feel that he's bonded to me in some ways because of that survival element, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So it's survival, and I use that term, and it's good. But I think more specifically, I feel like this is lunar, so it's the aspect of survival that is most associated with being nurtured, and nurtured mean the ideal environment for something to blossom or to grow. And I think what makes the bond stronger, because that's a universal phrase that we can all recognize, but to personalize it, when looking at someone's chart and the aspects to the moon will give ideas about the types of experiences and the types of people that it will be easy to create strong bonds with for better or for worse.
Interesting.
And like this lunar watery feel of bonds, I think of bonding things together. Usually one of the main ingredients that's needed is water, right? And even the water molecule, right? How it bonds together, that experiment when you pour water to the very top of a cup and it looks like the water should spill over, but it
Mm.
bonds to the edge of the cup. Oh,
Mm.
it's,
Yeah, I do feel that water people bond more deeply than other charts. Like, have you ever tried to bond to an Aquarius moon person? Like, there's something
oh,
about it
oh.
where it's like I was in a band with this Aquarius moon guy, and he's like my astro twin and stuff like that. And it's like I never felt that he got attached to me. Like, he didn't have this like emotional water layer of just like, oh, like I don't know, like I think water moons are the biggest bonders of the zodiac. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, by definition, they have to be. But I think there's also for me a warning, and I had mentors when I was young, trying to warn me, but it didn't stick. Of if you know you bond easily, then you have to be really cautious and aware and discriminating about who you bond to. And if you know you bond easily, then it becomes who you spend time around. Because if you have a lot of water, you don't really get to choose who or what you bond to. That's why
Oh.
just selecting the environment becomes extremely important.
Interesting. Yeah, I would that's such an interesting concept because I was talking to someone recently and we were talking about quality time as a way to bond. And the thing is, I was asking, does what you talk about depend or dictate how closely you bond with the person? Like if we talk about, we ate Cheetos for breakfast, does that bond us as closely as saying like what's the meaning of life? Does does the
Hmm.
topic of conversation change the bonding?
But for sure, I think in a general sense, even the nature of this idea would come from someone who's got the moon in Gemini or the moon in aspect to Mercury, because part of the bonding is going to be related to the nature and quality of the information exchange.
Hmm.
But if the moon is in Taurus and makes no aspects to Mercury, the bond might be nurtured by not saying anything.
Interesting. That'd be a good go around to look at the different moon signs and say, how do they bond? What is like, okay, like how does a moon and Aries bond? By yelling?
Exactly. Well, but I think they bond, like you were saying, they might bond really closely to the people on their sports team.
Uh-huh. Oh,
You know?
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. They might even feel in a weird, well, it's not weird because we see it in movies. They might bond to their arch enemy. You know?
Hmm.
My my one of my sons has the moon in Aries, and he always has to have he always has to have an arch enemy, and he always ends up having to be on the same team with arch enemy, you know.
Oh.
So, and he's into sports, so yeah, it's that. And the people he's most bonded with are the kids he plays basketball with in the backyard.
Hmm.
You know?
Oh, that makes so much sense, like a physical thing. Yeah, it's like who you can contend with is who you would bond with. Like if it was a
Yes, yes.
yeah, like it could be if it was a more nerdy gamer chart like 30 Planets in Aquarius, they might bond with people they play World of Warcraft with, or people who are on the same chess team or something. It doesn't have to be physical
Mm.
contending, but it could be just like it's kind of a feisty, like people who let you be feisty and, pushy. Those are
Ideally, right? So, because like we're not calling it out until now, but we're talking about ideals. And so much of the way that I was taught astrology was prescriptive, not descriptive. And so I think what we're saying more is if you have Moon in Aries, that it's probably you should have these should be considerations when you think about who you're bonding with. Because we can bond to people who don't have the ability to give to nurture us or to receive our nurturing, and that's when bonding becomes difficult. That's when
Mhm.
bonding becomes, and then when we have difficulty because we don't recognize, we have difficulty bonding with the people that actually can give and receive nurturing,
Mhm.
right? Also, right, I imagine in a time in our country, there was a time when it was against the law for a black person and a white person to be in a romantic relationship with each other. you know? And what if you're in a situation where the only person that can truly give you what you need, right, is from a different culture? And maybe you have Moon in Sagittarius, right? And square Jupiter. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
what you need for nurturing is experiences that are outside of the norm, right? But those are against the law. That's the
Mm-hmm.
square.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
You So I have a non-real astrology related question for you, which is you talk about your wife on the show, so I know it's okay to ask you this, but it's like, do you always feel bonded to her, or are there times where you feel more bonded to her and less times where you feel less?
I, so I think there's like a big bond and then there's the micro bonds. And depending on how you handle the micro bonds, the big bond gets stronger or weaker. you know. And
Mhm.
I think the nature of the little bonds, they're dynamic, right? There's certain things that bring a new situation up that you might feel separate from each other, but the way you handle it actually makes the bond stronger. So it's hard to say that there's times where I'll say there's times where the bonds are tested more than others. I think that's a way to say it. But I think because I have astrology and it's like I got really deep into astrology at exactly the same time I found my wife. So we started learning together, and so that in and of itself becomes a powerful bonding element. Powerful,
Mhm.
and it allows us to navigate things in ways that everything becomes a substance that we can use to bond more.
That's interesting to think of the bonding agents in relationships. Like, for example, Nina, my bandmate, the bonding agent there is the creative work we do. Like we make videos and stuff like that. And so it's like I feel bonded to her when we're making a video. And we haven't had as much time together to make videos, and I feel less bonded to her right now. But I like that it's like there's just not a lot of glue going down, being laid down right now because our bonding agent is not
It's
happening.
not, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Or the bonding agent is being tested, right? It's like, how strong is the bond, you know? And if it's strong enough, right, it'll get stretched and tested, and it'll survive. And because of that experience, it will become stronger. If
Mhm.
it's not strong enough, pop, okay, it will break, right? It'll break. And so I think having some intellectual awareness about what are the things that bond us allow us to recognize, how to turn it up when we need it and turn it down when we don't. And I think aspects to the moon and I think the progressed moon might give a lot of information about how we should consider the types of people and experiences, you know, relative to bonding. And I think the types of experiences we want to have and what are we going to need and support to have those experiences, which bonds are going to be most useful to us, be most satisfactory, most helpful to us right now. I think we can be more conscious in the types of people we spend time around and what we do with those people.
Yeah, that's so smart to be like, okay, I'm aware that this thing is the bonding agent for me and this person. Now I need to bond with them. Let's turn up the heat on that thing. Okay, so let me ask you this question because you have six kids. Do you
Mm.
bond with them all the same? And if like what does that look like? How, if you need to turn up the heat on bonding with one of those kids, like what is it the same action you take or is it different?
It's definitely different, 100%. Um, you know, as a parent, it's again to me, I'm very aware of the timing of bonding because again, you bond to someone at the wrong time, right? Then you feel stuck.
But that's
It's a,
bondage.
yeah,
Like that's a good question
exactly.
with bondage versus bonding.
Yeah, and I think it's about timing. Okay, right? If the person and the things you're bonded to are supporting, right, and adding to what is going on, then it's an effective bond. But if it's taking away, if it's draining, if it's holding you back, then it's not an effective bond, is what I'm saying. And so the first thing is being aware of when my kids need me, right? When is it time to bond? Because bonding, especially parents, bonding to your kids at a time where they don't need you, right, tends to hold them back, right? And so being curious, like being aware of when they send the signals if they're looking for a bond, and then thinking about how to bond with them. So my son that I mentioned that has the moon in Aries, the way we bond is I'll watch film of his football games and I'll shoot him advice from when I played football about how to think about how stressed out he is about competition. And so the way I bond with him is I help him like learn how to manage his anxiety around competition. He's got Saturn opposing the moon in Aries. Okay?
Oh my
So the
God.
bond, yeah. So the bonding is usually in that area. Okay. And you mentioned the moon in Aquarius. I have two daughters, and both of them have the moon in Aquarius. Right?
Hmm.
Uh, and and with Asha, the way we bond is usually I give her some unconventional insight that validates her unconventional way of thinking about things that she inherited from me anyway. You know? So I can tell when she's kind of stuck in a rut of convention that I come in and I say the crazy thing to her that she says, "Dad, you're so crazy," and then she laughs. You know? And she has more permission to be herself a little bit. Right? And I can tell because she's too busy when she doesn't need to bond, but when she has time for me, especially with her, when she's got like 3 planets in Virgo in the third house, when she's got time for me, I know that, okay, this is time to bond. This is what she needs. And so I get to show up that way.
Yeah, it's interesting with kids, like, okay, so in order to be a healthy, sturdy parent, I feel like you need to be there available if they want to bond. Just you're just like, oh, sure, bonding time, no problem. But like you can't like seek out bonding with them like, oh, do you want to bond? Oh, I miss you. Don't you care about your mom? Like you have to be like the stalwart, like just strong figure of like open to bonding, don't need it, kind of thing.
But also, I think efficiency, because if you're not efficient at bonding, one, you don't want to do it because it takes more energy and more time than you have to spend. And I think if you become efficient with it, then you have more ease with it. It's like with my kids, right? It's like if you're giving a kid a bottle, right, and you have to keep trying different bottles to figure out what they want, right? It's so inefficient. But if you know exactly what they want, they just need one bottle of it, and they're good. You
Mm.
know? It's like filling up the gas tank, right? You can tell, okay, it's full.
Yeah,
Time to
I
go.
love how like you're like very theoretical about it because you have 6 kids. Like, but I think what we could get into is into a complex situation of we bond with our kids per their transits to which part of their chart is up. Like, for example, my daughter has like a Martha Stewart situation going on. She has like Mars in Cancer, sextile Saturn in Virgo. And like when she has transits to that, like I like got to get out of the kitchen because the girl's like cooking or whatever. But I have my Jupiter in Cancer on her Mars, and my fiance has his Jupiter on her Mars. We have Jupiter, Jupiter, Mars, and Cancer the same degree. So the way the three of us bond is we go out to eat, right? Like we
Yeah.
like it's all about like sharing a meal and like but you kind of have to in some ways if you hit each chart and what it wants to do like at a certain time like you get like a power bond of like it suits both people but it's sharing energy and kind of I don't know.
No,
Start
it's
getting kind of technical.
no, no, it's cool. I mean, I think that's what people need in astrology is they need to see how astrologers who actually use astrology in their lives, how they do it. Right? It's because we spend the most time thinking about it. And so how we integrate it into our lives, that's precious. It's
Mhm.
precious information for people. One, it's precious that you can do that, because
Mhm.
again, maybe it's just the people I hang around, but I see people who have a difficult time matching astrology to real life.
So this definition of bonding says a relationship between people or groups based on shared feelings, interests, or experiences. Or to be joined is a bond. To be joined securely to something else. Um, so I think so. How does this say like we can spend now? Are you bonded to guys that you played football with?
Not really.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, because that's why I don't necessarily think it's just a shared interest. Like, I don't think a shared interest is enough to bond two people. I mean, maybe if you're playing football with them at that time, you could be bonded to them during that. It's like time boxed, is what someone said to me.
And when I was in school, we learned about this research project about how do people meet each other. How do people meet each other? And the thing they found that predicted people would meet each other was proximity. So if you have a shared interest, there's a greater chance that you'll bond with someone because you're around those people more. But I don't think it's a direct correlation that shared interests are what bond people, but I think shared interests bring people together. And when people are together, it's easier to bond. If the molecules are close to each other, there's a better chance that they'll bump into each other and create a bond.
Oh, that's a
Um,
really good point. That's a super good point. It's like, um, okay, this seems like a non sequitur and it's kind of adulty, so forgive me here. But I was reading this book about like sexuality recently, and it was talking about how like desire is different than arousal. Of like, desire would be like, oh, that outfit looks good on that person, which makes you want to get into proximity to that person, to then which point you can like go to the next step of like, like arousal, right? Like, okay, so people always think like a hot outfit makes you aroused, but that's actually not true. It makes you want to get closer in proximity to then go to this next step. And I think that's similar to what you're saying is like a shared interest is almost like an outfit you like of like, oh, I like that guy's also into astrology, so let's get together. But in order to bond, there has to be almost like a catalyst to joining where it's different. It's not just sharing an interest, it's joining around that interest.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And when arousal, I think that what I'm hearing is Mars, and the way you're using desire, I'm definitely hearing Venus.
Mm.
Right? And I'm not sure if this is related or this is just my Gemini mind going crazy, but I've noticed, and it's subtle, I haven't done any research, but I've noticed a direct connection between erectile dysfunction and Libra and Venus.
Oh wow, interesting.
Huh? Yeah.
Well, so like I'm trying to think of astrologers that I'm actually bonded to versus astrologers that we're just in the same, wheelhouse. I was bonded to Judith Hill for a while when we were writing that book together. And I've been bonded to her at times in the past, but I would say currently we are not bonded. We're not joined together in forces. Yeah, we have a book that where we wrote it together, so that's a bond through that book. And maybe every time someone looks at that book and sees us joined together, they see our bond that once existed. But I think bonds. Like, did you ever know Rick Levine and Jeff Jower?
Yeah. Mhm.
They were bonded. Don't you think they were like a bonded molecule of astrologers?
Yeah. Mhm.
And it seemed like what bonded them is they joined forces and committed to this kind of working as a pair thing. That seems like a bond. I guess that's what I'm learning from this episode is that a joining is the bonding. It's not just working alongside another astrologer that bonds you to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Are you bonded to your teacher, like Stephen Forrest? Is that too personal?
No, I'm bonded to him. Yeah.
Well, you guys work on that app together, right?
Yeah, we do.
So do you
Mhm.
think it's the app that makes you bonded, like the joining of forces?
In my chart, I have a pretty strong trine from Uranus to the moon. Uranus to the moon. And the way I'm understanding this conversation is the bond. I'm thinking about the moon is bonding, and Uranus rules my sixth house. So I have Aquarius on the cusp of my sixth house, and I read the sixth house as teachers or mentors. Right? And so the Uranus ruler of the sixth trine the moon. Yes, there's a very powerful bond.
Hmm,
Very
interesting.
powerful bond. Wow.
So how does the moon and Cancer bond?
Easily. Mhm. No, no, that's I'm serious. I think that's the best way. I think that's the best way to think about it. Because if you think of it, one of the differences if you're bonded to someone or you're not, is if you're bonded to someone and something is going on with that person, for better or worse, you have a more intense, direct feeling experience of what is going on with someone you're bonded to someone you're not.
Mm, hmm.
And to me, I think that's kind of the point, right? Is that whatever is going on with the people you're bonded to will have a greater effect on you.
That's like the psychic cords analogy, like when psychics can see cords of attachment. I do think there's something about that of like that you get more attuned to the people you're bonded to.
100%, because that's what we're saying, right? When you say a bond, the bond isn't just random, it's because there's something being exchanged. Again, the first bond, the baby latching on to the nipple, right? Something why it's not just random, just please, I like the way it feels, which I'm sure it feels good, but that there's something that needs to be exchanged, and it can only be exchanged if there's this, and it's specific, right? Not all babies have an easy time latching. There's all these things that can get in the way. But it's right. It's not crucial because we found ways around it, but it's important for the baby's survival for them to be able to latch onto something to receive something from. And even though we grow out of babies, all of us, right, we need to take in nurturing and sustenance from the environment. And the most important thing in most of our environments are people. So we have to be able to bond, I think, for our own psychic survival.
Interesting. Yeah, my Pisces moon really bonds through like art and music. Like, like if I play music with somebody, I really bond to them versus, just talk. I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, I guess talking is a bonding agent, but music and art, like if I make a video with somebody, I definitely feel far more bonded to them. I'm talking more about music videos than talk videos, but like if I make like a circusy looking music video where we look like we're bonding romantically, like I feel bonded to the person because I created it's like manifestation. I created the vision of us bonding and that like that bonds me. Like it's a very Pisces moon thing.
That's yeah, that vision part that feels very Pisces. And now that you've clarified the question, that I'd say Cancer Moon bonds through vulnerability,
Hmm.
right? And there's different ways to be vulnerable, right? There's the general way of right hide the women and children. Okay? There's right that there are just people that are more vulnerable in certain situations. So there's that, but also in situations where there's forced vulnerability. It's like the stray dog, right, or the hurt baby. And one of the things that I think cancer is sensitive to is the hurt child in everyone. So anytime where someone is expressing pain and they're doing it from a vulnerable perspective, that's where there's a bond. Funny, my son who's a Cancer son, he and studies astrology, he glommed onto this right away. And he knows one of the ways to bond to me is for him to make himself vulnerable.
Hmm.
You know? And as soon as he does that, the bond is there. But if he doesn't do that, it makes it difficult to bond. And then to me, if someone's not willing to be vulnerable and show that they're open to being nurtured or helped or supported or listened to or whatever, then then the bonding agent doesn't come out. But as soon as someone shows that kind of vulnerability, and this is one of the things that my wife, Capricorn moon, directly opposing my moon, gets on me about. Why are you spending so much time with it? Because her moon is like if people are useful, right, then I'm gonna bond. If I can't find out someone is useful, I ain't gonna bond with
That is so funny.
them. It's true. It's true, and it's the
God.
opposition. It's like the one thing that we can see it, so we laugh about it. But and she understands. I understand. You need to nurture people, okay? And I understand you don't. You're not down for it, so I get it. I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting. Um, Yeah, that's funny because like I'm like super not very needy. Like I'm like a freaking tough chick, you know? And so it's like I like I look at my friend like a certain friend of mine and I'm like, yeah, you're not bonding to me because I don't need you enough. Like I'm not like crying on your shoulder, you know what I mean? Like that. Yeah, like I totally know that type. He's a Scorpio moon though, but he's like but I actually do need him for something with my wedding and being like security and like he's all about it. He's like, yeah, I
Yeah,
got
yeah,
you, kind of thing.
yeah.
Um,
So
well,
need. I think this is a bonding word and a lunar word. It's need. You
oh,
know? And I think if we're aware of our needs, we'll be more conscious in our bonding experiences. If we're not aware of our needs, we'll be in a certain situation and there's someone that can provide that need. And next thing we know, boom,
I do
we're
think
bonded.
need does drive bonding a lot. Like that baby needs milk, right? And so it bonds to the mother, not someone else, because the mother is the one who can give that. Like if someone needs an astrologer, they might bond to us, right? Because they need us, you know. But if
Yes.
somebody doesn't want an astrologer or they hate astrology, they're not going to bond to us, you know. So I think need is a
That's so true. When I need money, right? It's easier for me to bond to people wanting readings.
that is funny. Yeah, like I really needed my dentist because I had a lot of cavities. This is the end of my drinking career. And it's like I really was trying to bond with my dentist. I was like, do you want me to look at your chart? Like, but like now I don't need the dentist that much. So I'm just like, whatever with that dentist, you know?
Yes. So good. So
So
right, because I think we can see there's temporary bonds, there's permanent bonds.
oh,
Right?
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah. That's true. I think getting healthy about temporary bonds it helps you be a very sane individual. Like they say that a person comes into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Have you heard that one?
I have. Yeah.
And I think the bonding for a season, like seasonal bonding, it's like you could bond, for a moment, and then like this happens in theater troops all the time. This came up the other day, where it's like, all the actors will bond during the run of a show, and then when the show's over, then it's just like, but they need each other during the show in order to make the show go. And I think that it's back to that. It's part of survival, and in order to survive through the show, they all have to be there and do their thing, and kind of thing.
Yes. Wow. Right. And I think it's one of those things that is so powerful that it can easily override our conscious intention, just because it's been such a valuable necessity in survival. So we've had to prioritize it. So it takes primacy over anything that we want. It's like this need to bond. I think next to the need to live, to be alive, is probably the strongest force in us.
Mhm. What do you think about cuddling and physical? I think cuddling is a big bonding agent, like in married couples. It's like a catalyst to bonding.
I think I think of I think of a couple, and they both, one is an Aquarius moon, the other one's a Gemini moon, you know, and they haven't been able to like get on the same page and communicating, and then they say, "Hey, let's cuddle. Maybe this will bring us closer together." They're like gross, right? But they say gross, and then it turns into a conversation about it, and the conversation gets kind of interesting, and then at least for 2 minutes, they're cuddling a little bit later. But it's so I think it can like put a bow or tie a knot, right, on a bonding experience. But I think if you have two Cancer moons or earthy moons, then I think cuddling and physical touch can definitely be in and of themselves bonding agents. But I think if we're not bonded in other ways and we want to have that kind of cuddle, that it almost feels like gross. You know?
Interesting.
So I think it depends. I think it depends.
Yeah, that's that kind of like desire and arousal thing. Like if you don't have desire for somebody, you definitely don't want them arousing you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just like get away from me. Like, um, yeah, okay. Yeah, but I get your point there. Is like an air moon might bond more from a conversation than cuddling.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Mhm.
like Gemini moons are always like, so anyway, I feel about that. Like, and then they go into some theoretical analysis. Like they're so mental about, what they feel. And let's talk about Taurus moon. Do you think Taurus moon bonds over money?
It's funny. I was thinking, my joke about Taurus is if it makes dollars, it makes sense. Um, and then I was thinking about my wife who's Capricorn moon, and we will bond. Like if I go do an autograph signing or something, and come home, I'll slide her some cash, and like we kind of have like a little joke about it, and it is a bonding moment. Like she lights up, right? Because one of the things we need in life, right, is resources. And if someone can provide those for us, right, that's a bond. And for some reason, we're not allowed to talk about that anymore in the time of equality,
Mm-hmm.
but we like call it out, it's like, right, one of the reasons why we're bonded is because I can help improve the ease and quality of your life. And I think Taurus, if someone can improve the quality and ease and stability in someone's life and the pleasure in someone's life, right? That's a need, and that's a valid basis of bonding.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have that kind of relationship with my best friend and producer and because I give him money and like it's funny because people get on me about it. They're like, "Well, if he was really your friend, you wouldn't give him money." I was like, "Do you ever get a tattoo from your friend?" Like someone close to me has like a huge back piece. I'm like, "You spent $12,000 getting that back piece from your friend." Like, I don't understand how paying for production services is any different than like paying for a tattoo, but or whatever it is. But the thing is I part of the reason I like to pay him is because I want him to bond to me so that he doesn't look at another artist. I'm like, Keep looking over here because you're my producer." And we've been at this for 10 years. I mean, like we are truly bond. We also dated twice, so we, have, consummated the relationship. But
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
which was a bonding agent too. But I think but I will say that I like giving him money. I mean, maybe this is like a financial dominance thing, but like my chart makes a lot of
Well, I
money
think
and
it's honoring bonding, right? If there's because the idea of bonding, giving and receiving, nurturing, they're both fulfilling, meaningful, necessary experiences. And if we're bonded to the right people, it's gonna feel good to give because what we're getting back in the bond, in the exchange, we want to keep it going on. Right? And it's like I have two boys with the moon in the second house, right? And one of them, right, the way we bond is we go to autograph collector shows, right? And I slide him a little bit of cash and I say, right, go have fun, right? And that's the like when he's older and he thinks about memories of dad, okay, it's going to be at these collector shows of him going around, right, and buying sports cards. Yeah.
mm.
And then the little one, the Pisces moon, right? We go right Chuck E. Cheese, we go to the arcade, or we go to Target, and definitely bonding through stuff, you know.
Well, it's interesting. So I had this conversation with my daughter the other day, and she was like, "I feel like if I because like she'll go get a burrito, and I'm like, 'Do you want $20 for your burrito?' And she'll be like, 'Sure,' you know." And then she said to me, I feel like I'm scamming you if I ask you for $20." I'm like, I am your mother. I was like, okay, is a baby getting a bottle scamming their mom? And she's like,
Yes,
no. No.
yes. But that's I think that's part of it, right? If we don't scam people and it's built in, right? The chubby cheeks, and the way they smell, right? It just
No, dude. Scam, dude, let's invent scam bonding. Like when you
yes.
scam someone into bonding with you.
I mean,
Dude.
it would just be calling out what actually occurs, you know? And I think the world would be better if we were more conscious of the people we were bonding with and why. You know?
Well, I guess my point with this story about her is like, so I was like, listen, honey, I was like, if you don't ask me for $20 next time, I'm gonna be pissed because I want, but what I'm thinking as a mother is like, bond to me. It's fine.
Yes,
Like, you
exactly.
know?
Right. And she's like, I don't know. I don't
Exactly.
know if I want those responsibilities.
The bondage of your mother, dude.
Exactly. Bonding and bondage. That is so good. That is
Yeah.
so good.
Some
So
people
good.
like bondage.
Yes.
I mean, just conceptually. I'm not even talking, like some
Well,
people.
I mean, if you have that kind of discord in your chart and you can play it out, oh, right, better, right, better than living it out.
Yeah, have you ever heard of the Christian concept of being equally yoked?
I haven't heard the terminology, but I feel like I'm familiar with the idea. So please, what is it?
Okay, so this is really interesting from a Libra perspective. Everyone thinks that Libra is the scales, and I guess it is, but in the ancient constellation, it was this dugong, which is the yoke between on the neck of two oxen. So like so if you take two oxen and you bond them together with this yoke around their neck, they have to plow the fields of life together, which is the Libra archetype. Is like you're bonded to another person by a yoke, right? So think about if you have a really huge, strong, spirited ox and then a really small ox and they're plowing the fields together. Like, how's that go, you know?
It's funny when I'm doing seventh house conversations, which are very similar. I use the image of a seesaw or a teeter totter, you know,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and I say, what, like, it's no fun to be on a seesaw with someone that's twice your weight. You know, you're just dangling up and you have no control, right? Or someone that's half your weight, right? They can't move it, so you're just your butt stuck on the ground, and you have
yeah,
to push up just to come right back down.
yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly. So it's like this idea, like a yoke in marriage or the marriage concept is like you basically bond together as a structure. Like it's a yoke between your necks. And so it's like the idea of being equally yoked is like biblical. Like you're not supposed to bond at that level with somebody who's not your equal.
equal. That's the seventh house teaching. That's 100% what it is. And I think we could go around the whole chart and we could say the first house is your bond to yourself or your bond to your body. And say the second house is the your bonding to your stuff. You know, I think this is a
Oh,
so
interesting.
I've learned this just with kids that have second house stuff. You know, in third house, we could say if we keep it in relationships, bonding to your siblings, okay? Or you could even say bonding to your self-talk, okay? Fourth house, for me, I'd say bonding to the father. Fifth house, bonding to your kids or how you bond in love affairs. Because there's a different kind of bond in a love affair than the bond that tends to manifest in equal partnership, okay? Sixth house, kind of what I referred to with Steve. One example is the bond between guru and disciple, teacher and student, sacred bond, okay, where information flows in one direction. Think of the Karate Kid. Mr. Miyagi says, one rule, I speak and you listen, okay. I think that's the quality of that kind of bond. And right, sacred, because if we create that bond with the wrong person, ooh, right, there's
Yeah.
movies and literature about that. Seventh house, equal bonds. Eighth house. That one's interesting. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, Ninth house, our bond with our belief system or with our
Oh, you're
religion.
not going to tell us the eighth house?
I'm gonna skip that one.
Okay.
Okay, I will.
Keeping
Your
the mystery
bond.
alive.
Well, there's because there's many bonds we could go, but I could say your bond with your therapist or your bond with the person you tell your secrets to, right? Or your bond with the part of you that dies, right? Or you could say the part of your bond with the part of you that survives death. I think,
Hmm.
I think that eighth house could get us there. Okay. And then 10th house bond with the mother, 11th house bond with friends, 12th house, I'd say your bond with God is where I would write the mystery,
Wow.
unfathomable, the transcendent.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
It's interesting. Someone I know has a moon in the 12th square Neptune, and he's done 750,000 of the same mantra, and it's like
Yeah.
he is absolutely spending some quality time with God. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So what do you think about bonding to the crowd? Like, I think the crowd who watches this show is bonding to you.
Yeah, I think for me, the moon is in the 10th house. And so I think that that's the most important bond to me. And I think one of the most painful things about being a football player was the quality and nature of that bond with my audience or with my community.
Mm,
It didn't feel it was honoring the cancer nature of it because right, it was about me being a big tough guy, not what I can do to nurture them or nourish them or help them thrive.
mm.
It's more how I could entertain them. And if people are getting something from the things that we talk about that are feeding them, then right, that's what I'm here for.
I know some of them are bonding to you because they'll say things to me like, "Don't ever stop the Ricky show. We love Ricky," like stuff like that. And it's like, I think they're more bonded to you than even like I don't really. I don't know. I think, but it's interesting. I have the moon in the 10th house too, and I remember, and mine is square Neptune, and I remember the last time Saturn hit it. Saturn went over my moon in Pisces recently, and at the end of that transit, I said to myself, I will marry my crowd first because it was like crowd versus
Yeah,
partner.
yeah, yeah.
And it's like I am 100% bonded to the crew because it's like I wake up and I live and breathe for my crew. But I don't see them as like I talk to them every day on Facebook,
No,
like, how's
yeah,
it going, everyone? And we actually bond. Like, and it's
yeah.
it's real.
No, 100%. I feel in my whole life this has been a theme. My mom used to give my mom a hard time, but I feel like there's probably people in the audience that feel more bonded to me than my kids do. You know?
Well, they say it takes 200 hours to go from an acquaintance to a friend. But what you find, of everything I've read about like YouTube theory and everything like that is like every hour they watch you talk is one of those hours. So we're on show 53. If you end up making 200 of these and they watch every one, they will be your friend, actually. I
Wow.
mean, you won't be their friend because you don't know them. You didn't hear them talk for 200 hours, but like they heard you, and that creates a friend in you.
And also, I think this is part of it because the nature of what I'm offering is very vulnerable. It's like I'm talking like I don't care who's watching, I'm pouring out my heart. And so
Yeah,
it's a different quality of feeling like you know someone. You know?
that's
Like
true.
if people are really watching, they know my kids' charts.
Yeah, like if you and I, that goes back to the question of like, does what we're talking about matter? I think you and I talk about a lot of vulnerable like this is your word, but vulnerable concepts, and you do let us into your life. Like you let us ask you today, several questions about like how do you bond, particularly. But like if you and I were talking about like football stats, I don't know that people would bond to you in the same way that they're feeling. Now let's talk about what happens if you saw these people at an astrology conference after them seeing your show, watching 20 episodes of your show. What does the bond look like there versus if they had not seen you at the show on the show?
Well, for me, if they hadn't seen me on the show, they'd be like, "Who is this? Who is this?"
Yeah.
But if they but if they recognize me, again, the bond is the hours they've already watched. And for me, what was going to create the bond is what comes out of their mouth. And if it's something that shows intelligence and sensitivity and vulnerability, I might say, like, let's go to lunch. Or I might say, if my sense was this could be like a meaningful conversation, then I'll like I won't consciously do it, but the way that I'll make the person feel is like they're my best friend. And that's
Interesting.
what and like that there's like I care about you. And if I have that connection, that's why I say I bond easily.
Yeah, that's
Someone
that
shows
cancer moon.
vulnerability. I mean, I'm out in public, and signing autographs, and a kid is there, and someone shows vulnerability. I'll go out of my way to make the person feel cared about and seen. And again, I don't even do it consciously. I remember when I was starting to be famous, and sometimes it would be annoying, and a kid would come, and I'd be a little bit rude, and I would take like 4 steps, And then I'd run and catch the kid. Hey, I'm so sorry. And that piece of paper, let me sign this for you. And then my kids are like, you're not that nice to us.
That's funny. They get to see your Mars and Aries, so.
They sure do.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think so. Talk about unbonding. Like in the ancient texts, they say that the moon rules the nocturnal sect of planets, the moon, Venus, and Mars. And Venus and Mars govern bonding. So watch when you have transit, like Venus goes over your moon, you start bonding with people of just like, oh, let's get close. And then Mars goes over your moon, you're like, get away from me. And so it's Mars actually cuts bonds. It'll clip cords, and Saturn will clip cords too. So like if I had when I had Saturn go over my moon, I read Codependent No More to remember to not be codependent with my crowd, and I like cut a bunch of psychic cords and stuff. And so it's like it's really important to bond when the planets are ripe to bond, and then clip bonds and that's like spiritual cleanliness, honestly.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of what I was saying earlier, where when the bond is put under pressure, and I think the two things astrologically, when we're going to see bonds are most under the most pressure, are going to be Saturn and Mars times. Can the bond take this separation? Can the bond take this heat or this intensity? And you talked about Saturn Moon time. Saturn Moon, I did a reality show called Celebrity Big Brother, and so it was the first time that I was away from my wife. And when you're on the show, you can have zero contact with the outside world.
Wow.
Zero, And so when I was there for a month, right?
Wow.
And it was the most lonely, difficult, one of the most lonely, difficult times in my life, like a kind of loneliness that I didn't even know I could experience. And it's funny the timing of it, because I think Saturn times force us to mature. But so well, at the time we were my Blaze, one of my kids, had moved in with us, and he's kind of wild, but I could kind of keep a tap on him. And so I'm going away for a month, and it's just my wife and this kid. So first of all, she's like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And so the tension builds, and the car is coming to get me to take me away for a month to not talk to them at all. And my wife and I have the biggest fight we've ever had. Like literally the guys at the door, the drivers at the door knocking, and we're yelling at each other. Okay. So and she's crying, and I get in the car and drive away, and I don't see her for a month. Oh man. But
Savage. That's savage.
it was and so but I could see Saturn aspecting my moon, and I was isolated from all the people that I felt really bonded to.
Yeah.
And I was around not only strangers, but the worst kind of strangers, other celebrities. Oh, and it was weird. The only connection I had is I knew that she was watching me on television. So the only way I could bond with her was by being warm and bonding with the other strangers around me. It was one of the weirdest experiences.
Wow, that's so cool, though.
Yeah. But afterwards, again, I didn't feel bonded. I felt the opposite. Oh, it was torture. But as soon as we saw each other, I have a picture right here. As soon as we saw each other, she ran and jumped in my arms, and I grabbed her. And we were even more bonded after that. And I think, like you said, knowing the right time to cut the bond is like clipping the hair or the plants at the right time allows them to grow more beautifully.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a Pisces moon, I have to constantly clip cords. I mean, because like a Pisces moon can send a cord thousands of miles away. Like it's crazy, and I've learned to constantly clean it up. But yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot from this bonding conversation, and I really appreciate you being vulnerable to talk about it. I know it's not really that astrological, but I think it does
But
apply.
it is. It is. It's so astrological. I'm
Mhm.
telling you, and it's funny you mentioned chords. So my 4-year-old's a Pisces moon, and one of the things that we do is we sometimes will go downstairs and we'll cut cords. I'll cut his cords. I got this beautiful obsidian blade in Mexico, and we'll go and cut cords from chakras. And then
Oh,
he'll go and he'll cut mine, and it's like it is astrological, because if we know that we have a lot of water in our charts, we have strong moon or a water moon, we're going to know that it's going to be easy for us to create chords.
Hmm.
And it's not bad, but it's when you're like, why do I feel like this? Right? Who are all the people you're bonded to? Because the definition of being bonded to someone is you're picking up on what's going on with them. Right? And this is when they say the nature of the moon is mediumistic, right?
Mm.
Saying it bonds to everything,
Yeah, interesting.
like
Well,
water.
that was a really great talk. In fact, it was so nice to not have a guest so we could bond. I'm
Oh,
just
yes.
kidding.
Oh, it's
Half
real.
kidding, not kidding.
Oh,
All right. Well, talking about bonding, it was very bonding. It's kind of so meta. Like I'd be like, let's talk about disattaching for an hour, and then by the end, we'd just be like, I feel so disattached.
it's
Um,
worship. It's a form of worship. You
okay.
invoke the gods and they show up.
Well, for the next 3 weeks, feel free to bring a guest. If you don't bring a guest, I'll have something prepared to talk about, and we can just chill.
Yeah, I'll bring a guest.
All right, cool. Well, thank you, Ricky.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye bye.